So Tig, maybe you can give us an idea when it comes to technology, right? Technology is always evolving as well. So how are your clients using technology? And I suppose, are they maximizing the opportunities that are there for them?
Yeah, it's a great question, because like meeting client expectations is something I think that's on the forefront of their minds, and how to use technology as an aid to do so. When I chat to our own clients and potential clients, I always draw the comparison with the finance and the banking industry, and how 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago you'd always be going in to do your small tasks with a bank teller, and as that has changed, that's the last thing any of us want to be doing now. You go flick on your phone and you do your small things, whether it's a case of transparency in your experience, so just looking at your balance, these small items that are everyday tasks where you don't want to deal with the person. So how, as a law firm, an accounting firm, as a professional service firm, how can you enable technology to, I guess, meet your customers where they want? Now, can everything be done, and every decision and every, I guess, bit of information be told from technology? Maybe not. Maybe some things are, there's elements of privacy and elements of, okay, let's sit down and have a chat. But what parts of the process, I think especially leaning on the transparency element, like how is your client progressing? What stage are they at? And if it's a case, whether it's a big legal problem, whether it's an accountancy issue or a project, can you use technology and systems to, I guess, enable better communication? Because when we chat with partners of corporate firms, specifically, one of the biggest trends that they find is that there's rising client expectations and a downward pressure on fees. So how can you give a better experience while potentially your margins being pushed? And technology is the best enabler for that. COVID's been an accelerant for that as well. But what parts of the process can you use technology, I think, to enable the customer experience?
And that's actually a very good, and you touched on it as well with the banking sector. You know, I know personally I use my phone for everything nowadays. Are you seeing law firms maximizing their mobile presence? And are they using that to the best capabilities they could?
Yeah, well it's a great point, because 70% of searches start on mobile, and studies have shown 40-50% of a law firm's traffic, for example, will come mobile first. And again, that stats can change. We have campaigns receiving higher amounts, so it should be a mobile first approach. Sometimes you can overemphasize how your site and how your experience looks on a desktop format, but it really should be mobile first, having AMP pages to help with site speed, optimizing what's actually important, recognizing the different I guess environment someone is when they're consuming information on our website on their mobile. It's a lot quicker. Let's get to the point. How can you help? What are the key facts and information? Less is more. Simple is better. So what can you, I guess, put first to, again, think of the customer. We don't need to tell them every single thing we've done in the past, everything we can do now, every value, every commitment.
Indeed.
What does the client
little carrots, right?
Yeah, exactly. What does the client care about? And it all comes back to that. And most facets of marketing, put them first. And it's the same with mobile, but mobile is really, really important. I think because maybe we consume a lot on desktop on a workday, so that's where you're experiencing your own site, and when you look at your own site, you're always looking at it for the most part on desktop. But when you're a lot of times looking for information, traffic, or you're on social media, you're doing it mobile first. So it should be higher priority, I think, for most firms.
Yeah, it's a good point, and I suppose it also gives you that opportunity to get out to a wider audience, right? I mean, if we've learned nothing over the last 18 months, it's the move that firms have taken to go online has actually broadened their acquisition base, right? Because if you have the expertise, there's no reason in the world why you can't have clients from all over Europe or anywhere in the world. But I suppose using mobile and harnessing that technology allows you to get the thought leadership piece we were talking about earlier on, and to build up the presence of partners to that wider audience, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an interesting point that you make around acquisition and lead generation. And I guess you have your own like lead gen versus acquisition, how they both bounce off each other and how they're actually quite different. A lot of people, and myself included, have sometimes been probably guilty of thinking they're the same thing. But what are your own perspectives on that?
Yeah, so it's a good point. I suppose in my head, I always think of client acquisition as being a warmer touch. Lead generation is is cold, right? They're cold leads. You're bringing those names in, and it would be very much working with Evolve and all the great work that you do. How I would see that working is to build in, to get leads, bring them into the funnel, and then the client acquisition bit is really warming those leads up and building the relationship. So it's very important, again, and we've spoken about it in the past, that you have your goals and your objectives set up, and that you know ahead of time, how many clients are we going after, what's their fee base like, how much do we need them to pay, and then how much are we going to put in towards acquiring each client, right? And it comes back to the reporting you were talking about earlier on. When you have reports and you can see the return on your investment, you can see how much you're actually spending for each client acquisition. But it is important that firms know the difference between lead generation and client acquisition.